What are some of the worst hybrid, plug-in hybrid, and full electric cars that you need to watch out for when shopping for a car? That's what we're going to find out. Welcome to Car Help Corner, where we help you, the consumer, master the process of car buying and car ownership. In this video, I'm going to go through 10 of the worst hybrid, plug-in hybrid, and full electric cars that you need to avoid when shopping for a new or used car. This list is going to include a variety of cars and SUVs built over the last decade that are best avoided both on the new car and used car market. So if you want to know which hybrids and electric cars offer the worst value for your money, have proven to be problematic and unreliable, then make sure to stick around until the end of this video. And if you enjoy and get value out of this video, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. I post 2 videos a week, always valuable, straight to the point car buying advice designed to help you, the consumer. So let's get this list started with my number 10 pick, which is going to be the Chrysler Pacifica plug-in hybrid. Now, although the Pacifica is a fairly well-designed minivan with lots of interior space and lots of great features to keep the kids entertained, it's never had a great reputation when it comes to long-term reliability. Now, of course, you can find a few happy owners here and there, but even so, the number of complaints from both Pacifica owners and mechanics who work on them is extremely high, and the Pacifica has consistently ranked at the very bottom of Consumer Reports' annual reliability study. And the plug-in hybrid version of the Pacifica is not exempt from that reputation. In fact, it might just be the most problematic version that you can buy. The plug-in hybrid system that Chrysler uses for the Pacifica is very complex and unique to this model. And when you combine that complexity with the Pacifica's already shaky reputation for build quality, it doesn't exactly inspire a lot of peace of mind. Many owners have reported all kinds of drivetrain issues and electronic issues, some of which are very difficult to diagnose and repair. Even Chrysler dealers can have a very challenging time diagnosing and repairing these vehicles, because there's just not a lot of knowledge on them because they are relatively rare and unique. As a general rule of thumb, buying a unique model that has one-off components that are not shared with any other car is never a great idea when it comes to reliability, but more importantly, repairability, because mechanics are just not going to be familiar with it or know how to repair it. And the Pacifica is a great example of that, which is why this minivan also doesn't have a great reputation for resale value when compared to much more reliable minivans like, say, the Toyota Sienna or the Honda Odyssey. And much of the same could also be said of number 9 on the list, which is the Lincoln Aviator Grand Touring. The Grand Touring is the plug-in hybrid version of the Aviator, and as far as plug-in hybrids go, this one is a little bit of a dud. The major issues with it is that it just doesn't deliver in the areas that are important to many buyers, including the efficiency, the value for money, and its reputation for build quality. For one thing, it only has an electric range of around 17 to 18 miles or 25 kilometers before it needs to switch to gas, which is pretty unimpressive for a plug-in hybrid. And when it does switch over to gas, it'll struggle to get better than 20 miles to the gallon or around 12 liters per 100 kilometers, which again is quite disappointing. That disappointing efficiency is thanks to the Grand Touring's extremely high curb weight, which is due to a twin-turbo V6 engine matched with an electric motor and a hybrid battery pack, along with a 10-speed automatic transmission. Now, if that sounds like a very complicated drivetrain to you, then you would be right, which wouldn't be an issue if Lincoln had a great reputation for its build quality, but unfortunately that's just not the case. Much like the Pacifica, the Aviator ranks at the very bottom of Consumer Reports' reliability study, and the reports from owners is not very positive either. The Aviator has had all kinds of reported complaints, most of them electronic in nature, but there's also been complaints with the 10-speed automatic transmission, which is shared across most of the Lincoln and Ford lineup. The Aviator has also had some very serious recalls as well, all of which points to a pretty poor reputation for reliability so far. No question, the Aviator is a very nicely designed SUV with a luxurious interior and great performance as well. It just doesn't deliver on the efficiency that you would expect from a plug-in hybrid. And you would also expect better build quality from an SUV that has a price tag anywhere from 70 to 100 grand. It's just not a recipe that inspires a whole lot of confidence, so if you're shopping for a high-end luxury SUV, you'd be much safer buying something else instead. But whatever you do, don't buy number 8 or 7 on this list, which are the VOLVO XC90 and XC60 Recharge. I've put these two together because they are fairly similar in most ways. The XC90 Recharge and XC60 Recharge, formerly known as the T8, use a plug-in hybrid system which consists of a turbo and supercharged 6-cylinder engine matched with a pair of electric motors and a hybrid battery. If the combination of a turbocharged and supercharged engine combined with electric motors and a hybrid battery pack sounds like a complicated mess for reliability, I really wouldn't blame you. Unfortunately, the XC60 and XC90 have not earned a great reputation for their build quality, and they also rank at the very bottom of Consumer Reports' reliability study. And on top of having not very good build quality, they're also not that efficient for plug-in hybrids either. These SUVs are only able to manage around 20 miles or 30 kilometers before they switch over to gas. And when they do so, because of that very powerful turbo and supercharged 6-cylinder engine, they're not all that fuel efficient either. Volvo is on the path towards full electrification. They already offer a full EV in the form of the XC40 Recharge, which is a pretty good electric SUV. And by 2030, the company plans to go fully electric. But until that time comes, it just seems to make sense to avoid any of their plug-in hybrid SUVs, which are just not that impressive when it comes to efficiency, value for money, or reliability too. Inefficient, overpriced, and unreliable hybrid SUVs seems to be a theme because that's also the case with number 6 on the list, which is the Ford Explorer Hybrid. Now the fact that the Explorer Hybrid made this list is a shame because Ford actually has a decent reputation with hybrid SUVs, like the smaller Ford Escape Hybrid, which is a very fuel efficient and well-designed SUV. Unfortunately though, that's not the case with the much larger and heavier Explorer Hybrid, which uses a bigger V6 engine and can barely achieve 25 miles per gallon or under 10 liters per 100 kilometers. And not only is it inefficient, but it's also overpriced for what you get. For between 50 to 60 grand, the Explorer Hybrid just doesn't offer very good value for the money. It has a fairly low quality, cramped interior that just doesn't offer as much space as other similar 3-row SUVs. And the Explorer also doesn't have a great reputation for reliability or resale value either. The Explorer has consistently ranked at the very bottom of Consumer Reports' annual reliability study, and even though you can find plenty of happy Explorer owners, you can also find just as many unhappy ones that have had non-stop repair issues. That's the thing with Ford, they always seem to be hit and miss when it comes to their build quality. So if you want a reliable, well-built, and fuel-efficient 3-row hybrid SUV, you're much better off buying something else like the Toyota Highlander Hybrid instead. But if you'd rather buy a luxury plug-in hybrid SUV instead, whatever you do, don't buy number 5 on the list, which is the Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe. The 4xe is the plug-in hybrid version of the Jeep Grand Cherokee. Unlike other Grand Cherokees which use either a V6 or a V8 gas engine, the plug-in hybrid 4xe uses a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine matched with a pair of electric motors and a hybrid battery pack. This is the same plug-in hybrid system that was introduced on the Wrangler a few years back, and it produces a very similar amount of power. While it is fairly powerful, it's not exactly the most efficient drivetrain, barely able to top 20 miles of range or 30 kilometers. The lack of efficiency is just a disappointment, especially when you consider that you need to spend a lot more money in order to get the much more complicated plug-in hybrid option. And the complexity of a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine with an electric motor and a hybrid battery pack is not a good thing when it comes to Jeep, which is a brand that has long struggled with its reputation for reliability. Unfortunately, Jeep is just not a brand that's really known for the quality of their vehicles, and when you're buying a vehicle as expensive and complicated as this, it's just not going to give you a whole lot of peace of mind if you're the type that likes to hold on to their vehicle for upwards of 10 to 15 years. And when you consider that the plug-in hybrid 4xe costs a whole lot more money than the regular V6 engine, anywhere from 70 to 90 grand, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But plug-in hybrids are not the only type of electrified vehicles that can be problematic for long-term ownership. You can also have just as many problems with a full electric car, and number 4 on the list is proof of that, which is any first-generation electric car. By first generation, I mean any of the early electric cars that were built between 2010 and 2013, namely cars like the first-generation Nissan Leaf or the Mitsubishi i-MiEV. These early attempts at an electric car were not exactly the most successful. For one thing, they had a very disappointing driving range, only able to achieve between 80 to 100 miles or 140 to 160 kilometers when they were brand new. And because these cars are now anywhere from 8 to 12 years old, they have likely suffered quite a bit of battery degradation, which means that they're only likely able to travel a fraction of that today. They might seem like a great buy and a great way to save a lot of money when compared to a much newer electric car, but they're just realistically not going to be that practical to use. These cars were developed in the early days of battery technology, when EVs still didn't have a very good range, and car companies didn't have much of a grasp when it comes to battery chemistry or battery thermal management. Which means that the expensive battery packs in most of the first generation electric cars are now nearing the end of their shelf life. And any early electric car that needs a full replacement battery is basically worthless, because these battery packs cost so much money to replace that it's just not worth it for a car that's over 10 years old. Fortunately, battery technology has improved dramatically over the last few years, and the newer generation electric cars are much better than the ones that came before them. But you still need to watch out for older electric car technology, which can be extremely expensive over time, including hybrid cars like number 3 on the list, which are the Nissan Pathfinder and Infiniti QX60 hybrids. Now, it's a little known fact that both the Nissan Pathfinder and Infiniti QX60 were briefly available with a hybrid drivetrain. It consisted of a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine with a supercharger, along with an electric motor and a hybrid battery pack. The main reason why this hybrid system never really took off is because it just wasn't all that fuel efficient when compared to the regular V6 engine. And it was also a lot more expensive, so not many consumers saw much of a reason to go for it. Ever since then, this hybrid system has long been discontinued, and because it wasn't around for very long, it's best to avoid one of these SUVs if you're shopping on the used car market. Like I mentioned with the Pacifica plug-in hybrid, it's never a great idea to buy a one-off drivetrain that was only used for one model. They're typically very problematic and expensive to repair because of a shortage of parts and a shortage of repair knowledge too. Which is exactly what could also be said at number 2 on this list, which is the Volkswagen Jetta hybrid. Much like the Pathfinder and Q60 hybrid, not very many consumers might know that the Jetta hybrid even existed. That's because it was only offered for a few short years between 2013 and 2017, and it didn't exactly sell in big numbers. Now, while this hybrid did get pretty good fuel efficiency, the money that you save on gas would most likely just end up going to repairs, because this is not exactly the most reliable car that you can buy. Volkswagens generally have a below average reputation for reliability and very high repair costs in North America. And given the fact that the Jetta hybrid used a very complicated hybrid system, a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine with an electric motor and a hybrid battery pack, something that was largely unfamiliar to Volkswagen, it's not exactly a recipe for long-term reliability. Which brings us to the number 1 and last car on this list, which is the Tesla Model X. Now, it might not be a surprise to many to see a Tesla make the top 10 list, because the company hasn't exactly had the best reputation when it comes to the build quality of their vehicles. Ever since its launch back in 2016, this model has been plagued with all kinds of quality issues. All of this is largely due to the fact that the Model X is the most expensive, but also the most complicated Tesla that you can buy. So if you're interested in buying an electric car like a Tesla, but you're concerned about reliability, you'd be much safer buying one of the less complicated, cheaper models, like say the Model 3. So there you have it, 10 of the worst hybrid, plug-in hybrid, and electric vehicles that you can buy. Let me know what you thought of the vehicles on this list, and if you have any recommendations for any future car videos, just leave a comment below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. You can also take a look at some of my other car videos by checking out these links over here. Make sure to follow me on TikTok and Instagram, and if you need any additional car buying advice, recommendations, or help with getting a great deal on your next new car purchase, make sure to check out carhelpcanada.com. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.